Good morning, all of you. Let us start the class. So far, we have completed the first two units. In the last class only, we have started unit 3 and we have discussed the basic elements about the performance of an economy. In extension to that, today we are going to study about the macroeconomic aggregates. This is a very important topic because based on this only the next models will be discussed: 2-sector model, 3-sector model, and 4-sector model. For that, we need a basic idea about macroeconomic aggregates. First of all, you should understand that there are two categories of economics. One is microeconomics, the second one is macroeconomics. Microeconomics is in the individual level or firm level or industry level, but macroeconomic, it is mean by the aggregates. It is a national level. It talks about the levels in the sense employment level, price level, national level income, national expenditure, budget, policy. All these things are aggregates. So macroeconomic is nothing but a branch of economics which study about the aggregates. So we need this particular aggregates. There are many aggregate elements are there which are broadly classified under two categories called aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So how people can able to understand macroeconomic aggregates? There are three ways. One is called output. Output in the sense production. The second one is about the income, total income. The third one is the expenditure. So in these three ways, we can calculate the macroeconomic aggregates. But based on these three, there are many aggregates are there because we have to talk about the inflation or employment or the production capacity, all these things. So what we have done, we classified the macro aggregates into two. One is aggregate demand, the another one is aggregate supply. Today's class, we are going to study about what is the cause for the aggregate demand and supply. Similarly, what will be the effect if it rises? Suppose there is an increase in aggregate demand, what will happen? When there is an increase in aggregate supply, what will happen? This is what we are going to discuss in this class. So, how to calculate aggregate demand? There are 6 elements, but I have mentioned here only 5 elements. Why? Because in the 50 unit, I will add that. Now, the basic first we will study and then we will go for the next element. There are 5 factors that I am going to say. What the household sector is spending, that is called consumer spending. The second one is what business people are doing, that is called investment spending, that is investment level. The third one is for the public expenditure, what the government is spending. Apart from that, we have to include the total export that should be added. If you add these 4, then if you subtract the total input, that particular value, we used to call it as aggregate demand. This is for the demand side. I will repeat again. If you add the consumer spending, total investment, government spending and export and subtract the import, that value is got aggregate demand. This is the demand side. What is the supply side? Then we have to move in the other way. What is the total? What is the total supply that we have? There are 3 ways. Then we should aggregate that. The total expansion of the production capacity, not only industry but also agriculture and service. Then how effectively we are using, that is efficiency of an economy, and total labor force. Based on these 3 elements only, the aggregate supply will be calculated. This aggregate supply is a reaction of the aggregate demand. When demand increases, we are supposed to increase the supply, failing which it will affect the price level, employment level, and lifestyle level. All these things will be affected. So demand is a cause and supply is the effect. So in this class, the cause for aggregate demand and aggregate supply, for demand side is consumer spending, investment level, government spending, and balance of trade. Balance of trade, it means export and import will be included. In supply side, there are 3 elements. One is production capacity, efficiency of economy, and labor force. So now we are entering into, suppose there is a change in the demand, what will happen? So there are 2 occasions that we have. What will be the effect when there is a rise in aggregate demand? First, we will complete that. After that, what will be the effect when there is a rise in aggregate supply? For that, now you can see a picture. Picture in the sense this figure, horizontal axis calculate the total income, and vertical axis calculate the price level. In the initially AD1, that is aggregate demand 1, is the actual demand curve of an economy. So in this particular point, there will be a equilibrium. Suppose due to increase in consumer spending, the businessmen are investing more, and government is giving subsidies and other things, and government spending is more, because due to that, the demand increase from AD1 to AD2. If that is the case, what will happen? We are forced to increase the supply. That is called long run aggregate supply. So the equilibrium will move from here to here. Is it visible for you? The aggregate demand moving from AD1 to AD2. Therefore, the supply is also increased. If this is the case, what will happen in an economy? That is called effect of aggregate demand. These are the 4 effects we can going to face when there is an increase in the demand. It may be, sometimes it may be say it is a cost. Why? Because most of the people think that it is a cost. Actually, it is not. It is an effect only. When there is an increase in demand, definitely that will affect the interest rate. Why it has happened? People will start trying to invest, so the government will reduce the interest rate. There will be a lot of cost of borrowing will be there, and there will be increase in the production. The production capacity will be increased, and there will be more spending of consumer and investment. This is the first effect when there is a change in the demand, that is rise in the demand. When people are start spending for more demand, definitely why it is happened? Because of there is an increase in the wage. They are having more purchasing power. That is why the nominal wage is not considered. Inflation rate is likely to be increased. So because of this, there will be a disposable income in the consumer level. So the poverty line will be reduced and the spending level will be more. So because of this, there will be a higher global growth, which may promote the export also. Therefore, the export spending will also increase. The first one is there will be a change in interest rate. The second one is there will be a change in the wage. Because of these two, there will be a change in the value. Why? Because every country try to export more, so the foreign earnings will be there. So the currency will be having good value. There will be a devaluation is also possible, because the conversion from one currency to other currency will take place. So the export will become cheaper and the import will be costly. Because of that, there will be a heavy demand for the domestic product, which will induce the economic development, which in turn the economic growth. So when there is an increase in aggregate demand, it is good for the economy. So because of these three, that is a change in the interest rate, or increase in the real wage and currency conversion. Because of that, there will be a wealth in the economy. The housing price will cause more spending from the household sector. The business people will have encouragement to do more business, and people will be very confident and they will start spending more, and standard of living will come up. So as far as the aggregate demand is concerned, when there is an increase in the aggregate demand, definitely the economy will get the economic growth. So macroeconomic always concentrate on aggregate demand. This is the demand side. Now let us move to aggregate side, aggregate supply side. Here the demand is also increased from AD1 to AD2, but now we are giving a hypothetical aggregate supply, long run aggregate supply. It is shifting from Y1 to Y2. Instead of having a long run average cost curve, we are directly drawing the aggregate supply curve. There is a change in demand. In order to augment the gap, there will be increase in supply. So the equilibrium will move from here to here. It may be a short term nature. Here also the horizontal axis represents the national income, and vertical axis represents the general price level. Because of aggregate change in the supply, these are the effects that we have to get. Sometimes it may be treated as a reason for increase in the aggregate supply. The very first one, when there is a need for increasing in supply, then the technology will take place. Definitely, because instead of using manpower, we will use capital intensive, because a man can be able to produce 10 goods. Means if you employ the machine, it will produce 100. So there is a provision for development of a new technology. That is why I have given as the very first point, because the steam power and telegram have helped to protect in the 19th century. Because of that, when there is an increase in demand, in order to augment that particular, in order to face that aggregate demand, we are increasing the aggregate supply. How it is possible? By employing the technology. Then the second one is, once we start introducing the new technology, there will be a change in the management technique. Otherwise, it is very difficult to handle the thing, because in a small scale it is possible to administrate. When there is a large scale, the economies of scale will take place, and it is very difficult to, all sort of problem may arise. So we have to give a better management technique that we have to give. There will be a good improvement in the workforce. Some people may unskilled. Because of this technology, they will become skilled, and the workforce will be more productive. This will involve improvement in the skill as well as in the educational qualification. The third point is what I am trying to say. There will be a flexible working practice. In those days, we used to work only from 10 to 5, 8 hours of work, all these things. But now that is not the case. Why? Because we need more workforce. So we make the shift system. Round the clock, people are working. Only 8 hours work, but it may be because of the business processing outsourcing. The UK time and US time will be here we are working. That is from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. they are working. So there is a flexibility in the working practice. This is a very great advantage for the developing economy. Why? Because we can able to match the aggregate demand with our supply. The most important point is the increase in net migration. In those days, those people who are residing there, they will work there. But now that is not the case. From state to state, people start moving. From country to country, they are moving. Because of that migration only, we can able to supply for the required aggregate demand. This pandemic situation have proved that migrants are the backbone for the aggregate supply. Why? Because this particular pandemic, that 21 days first pandemic period, people start migrating. Our GDP have reduced more than 25%. Why? Because there is an increase in the net migration. Everyone back to pavilion. Because of that, they are not able to reach their workplace, and they unable to complete their required target. Because of that only, we have reduced what to say, the GDP have reduced nearly 25%. Especially this migration is taken place in the real estate, that is builders and fruit packers. This is the yesterday paper they have given. The fruit export have been reduced drastically. Because of that, 3% of the total budget value have been reduced because of the packing only. Then the next point, what I am trying to say, this particular aggregate supply is increased. Definitely, we need more workforce. Therefore, the government will recommend for rising the retirement age. There are people who can work up to 70 years, but retirement age is 58. We should not waste their intellectual power and manpower. They will give employment as at least a part time they will give, and they will extract the work from them, which will increase the supply. Because there is an increase in demand, we have to give some solution for the increased demand. Then the last one is the public sector improvement. There will be an improved infrastructure. Government is trying to spend more on education and other health services, because service sector will get the dominancy. The easiest is way to understand whether the country is developed or not, see the service sector. Suppose if you take any developed countries, The contribution from service sector is more than 50%. In case of developing countries, the agriculture will be more nearly 70 to 80% agriculture, another 20% from industry, only 5 to 6% from service sector. Suppose the service sector contribution is 50%, means we blindly say it is a developed country. Because of that only we can able to survive, because production is meaningful only when consumption is made, but the consumption pattern of the public have changed from because they are keep on demanding different kind of products. For that we have to give that particular we have to satisfy the consumer need. So with this basic idea, I am completing today's class. Finally, with the what extent the government can increase the economic growth, because we are already discussed about the aggregate demand and aggregate supply. What is the link between the aggregate supply and aggregate demand? The government has to reach the public. How it can reach? Through the policies only. There are three factors all the government will concentrate. One is called fiscal policy. Fiscal policy means taxation system, how to get revenue from the public. Second one is monetary policy. The government is giving money supply to the public. The third one, based on these two, there should be economic stability. So these three are in the hands of the government. But as a matter of fact, the fiscal policy is in the hands of the government, but monetary policy is in the hands of the central government. Of course, central government is a representative of the government only, but it is autonomous body. It will take its own decision. And based on these two, there will be economic stability for the different policy has been implemented. In the next class, I am going to start the circular flow of monetary activities, macroeconomic activities that have. There are sector model, 2 sector model, 3 sector model, and 4 sector model. That is the portion for us as well the syllabus is concerned. Last year, there is a new model called 5 sector model, because it's very new to economics. Why? Because there are 4 sector model, means household sector, business sector, government sector, and foreign sector. This is the maximum model that we had. But from 2018-19 onwards, we are having a new concept called 5 sector model. Why? Because we have included one new sector called financial sector. Financial sector in the sense banking, non-banking, other financial institution has been treated as a separate sector. For this is the backbone for all 4 sectors. Because suppose you are spending money, where you can get the money, your own money only, but you are deposited in the bank. Suppose you are want to save more, you are putting in a non-banking financial institution, mutual fund, and other type of saving that you are. So financial sector playing a very crucial role in economic activity. That too, it is a very important element for the macroeconomic aggregates. From next class onwards, I'm going to start the sector model, that is circular flow of income, money, physical goods, and other things. Every day we'll have one model, totally 3 model I'm going to teach. 2 sector model, 3 sector model, and 4 sector model. Finally, what is a current affair? With that, we can complete that particular topic. Have any doubt, you can ask me now.